All right. Let's do the math on this. I'm real fond of doing the math. And one of them, I was wrong. I forgot to move the decimal point, so some of those percentages were not zero or point. Sorry, let me take a breath. 0.002%. It was 0.2% of the population, and I do apologize for that. That was on the percentage of the population that is homeless and the percentage of the population that is foster children. There are roughly 327 million people in the United States. And half of them are men. 1 in 6 men was molested or raped by the age of 18, and 1 in 3 women was raped or molested by the age of 18. So we'll take 327 million divided by 2. 163,500,000. We'll write that down to the side, and remember that that is roughly the amount of men that there are, and that is roughly about how many women there are. And then we're going to divide those according to their mathematics statistics. This is important. By the numbers, folks. Instead of just spouting those statistics, do the math. That's pretty important. I'm trying to find something to write on. I suppose a cigarette box is as good as anything, isn't it? The cellophane don't want to rip. Plastic. All right. So we've got 163,500,000 men. We've got also 163,000 or 163,500,000 women. You see how my words don't exactly connect? That's not because I'm crazy. It's because I have a lot running through my head at once. I'm more observant than most, and I retain more information than most. From time to time, I pay so much attention that I can't possibly remember every single detail because there is just too much that I'm gathering at one point in time, and my brain is trying to process all of that information at once. So now we will say 163,500,000 divided by 3. This will give us the number of women who were raped or molested. That would be, says 54,500,000. That means 54,500,000 females in America were raped or molested by the age of 18. Let's divide it by 6. 1 in 6 boys in America was raped or molested by the age of 18. That gives us 27,250,000 men. Now let's do the math and add those both together. This will give us a number of Americans who have been raped or molested by the time that they were 18, both men and women, regardless of color. 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, 7, 1. Add the 1 with the 5 up here. That's 6, 7, 8. Well, my guesstimation was pretty close. It's actually 81,750,000. 81,750,000 Americans have been raped or molested by the time they turn 18. That's roughly 1/4 of our population. That means if you have 3 coworkers, the chances are one of them was molested. Now, the fact that 1 in 3 victims is a male shows that that is not a female issue. Please stop shaming men who have gone through this. That right there, the men need to shut up because it happens more to women. Men just need to man up, man up, man up, shut up, man up. That's why boys start committing suicide at 5 times the rate of girls at the age of 15. Knock it the fuck off. Stop doing this to human beings. Not every man out there did these things to you. Many of us have had to go through it in real life. It's raining here a little bit. I got bugs over here flying around. I'm trying not to pay attention to that. I'm trying to pay attention to this here video, but I am stressed to the max, folks. I mean, you guys, this isn't a new thing. I've been speaking out since the 90s about this, about, well, how you're treated by the system when you have been sex trafficked. It's very similar to the fact that police brutality is not a black issue. Most victims of police brutality are not black, believe it or not. And most of the victims who are black fit into categories and demographics that are higher up on the ladder. Being victimized as a black person in America is in the top 10, but it's definitely not in the top 5. It's not even in the top 7. I was told that the BLM folks were trying to make it better for all of us. But the top 5 categories, the top 5 categories of most abused people in America have nothing to do with color. Foster children, former foster children, the homeless, the mentally disabled, and the physically disabled. How many disabled people did the police kill last year? How many homeless? Why aren't those numbers recorded? There's a news team that claimed that they were going to record all of that, but here's the thing, a lot of it goes unrecorded. I've had homeless people in Boulder, Colorado tell me that they saw police roaming around just looking for people to beat up like the college kids do. Now, do I know if that's true or not? No, I don't. But I do know there were a lot of homeless people that were killed in the area around that time, having their chests crushed in, blunt force trauma to the head, and their deaths ruled undetermined. Undetermined. That's what it's like to be homeless. You're getting buzzed by the police nearly every single day, and you got black folks that will come up to you and say, "Hey, man, stay strong." Us black folks have had to go through this. When I was 16, I got called the N word by one of my gym teachers, and I had three of the football players beat me up. I'm like, dude, I got hundreds of stories for you. And when it's true, and people don't want to hear it, a lot of people they just assume that you're going to one up them. That's what it always becomes about. Oh, you're just trying to one up me, or you're trying to take away from my cause. No, 81,750,000 people in America were raped or molested as children. Most of them by their parents. How many of y'all realize that? Your parents are most likely to do that. But then we get into child trafficking. Most of the trafficking that I've seen in my lifetime is done by CPS and the police. And it depends on where you're at. In Boulder, Colorado, they specifically try to hunt for white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes under the age of 6. The younger they are, the more money they're worth. Little girls they're selling. They're stealing little girls from poor families and selling them like cattle. You want to talk about fucking slave auctions? Ask Roberts about having her daughter sold for $950,000 to a rich couple in Denver. Sorry, I meant Roberta Robertson. Roberta Richards was a really sweet lady who worked at not Pumpkin Pantry, Starbucks on Pearl Street. She was my saving grace. They don't make angels like that, but when she's pissed off, yeah, she'll throw you away like trash. Don't piss her off. I still love her to death. She's one of the most wonderful people I've met in my lifetime. A lot of these people are wonderful. They're just stupid. You can be intelligent and still be stupid. These things are happening to black people. I want you to ask yourself how many of these black people were homeless. I want to ask you how many of these black people who were carted off to the jails, how many of them were former foster children? And how many more of them are there that weren't black? They went through the same thing. When 1/3 of the victims, child victims of rape and child molestation, 1/3 of them are males. That means that it's not a female issue. It's an issue of child rape and molestation. Just as police brutality isn't a black issue. Although most of the victims here are not black. They fit other demographics, but largest cross-section of those is the same 5, and it has nothing to do with race. Nothing to do with race. It has to do with poverty. These numbers are inflated by the fact that these folks are railroaded because they have no money for a real lawyer. And it destroys their family, it destroys their finances, and that destroys their ability to defend themselves anywhere. Police can do whatever they want to the poor, and they know it. They're trained to know it. Police Academy is more about teaching police officers how not to get their city sued. Boulder police officers are specifically trained how not to get their city sued, and one of those training methods goes specifically for the homeless. People just assume that the homeless are bad. They don't want to see them because they're all bad, terrible junkies. All the same stuff that you hear about Native Americans and black folks and immigrants. You get to hear about the homeless from, well, those other groups as well. These are our issues as a country. These are our issues as a nation. How many of those black folks who were murdered also fit into these other categories? Well, these other categories are primarily the ones that you ignore the most by making the most excuses for the predators. It's okay that these predators did this because, no, now you are making excuses. Our biggest issue as victims is that we can't go to the police. Many of us fit demographics that prevent us from being able to go speak to the police without someone there with us. And the highest ones on that list are children and the homeless. Children, homeless. Without someone to fight for your rights, you're what's called a throwaway. They put you in the system and they cycle you through for tax dollars. And then when you're 18, they throw you out on the curb and they cycle you through the jails for tax dollars. There is a higher addiction among people in houses than there is among the homeless. Did you know that? Did you know that? Here in Chapel, Nebraska, between 40 and 60% of the residents are alcoholics. That's not counting meth addiction. These folks here in Chapel, Nebraska judge everyone harshly. Oh my God, talking about how black people are all drug dealers and how black people are all rioting and black people are all getting abortions and black people are all this and black people are all that. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And you blame everything on blacks and Mexicans. And then when it's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, everybody comes out of the woodwork to use the N word because they're pissed off because the goddamn bank is closed. Why does everybody all of a sudden just have to go to the bank on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day? There aren't 400 people trying to fucking shovel into that place on any other day. This is Chapel fucking Nebraska. There ain't even 500 people who live in the town. Holy shit. So I'm not denying racism. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying in many, as in probably the majority of these cases that we're being spoken to about as if they're a racist situation. No, it's a situation where that person was poor, couldn't afford a lawyer, and they got railroaded. Many families tried to help me out, people with children. And most of them, their reason for not following through with their promises is, dude, I'm fucking scared for my kids. I'm scared for my kids from these predators. Sean, please don't make me do this. Miss Laura, I can't make you tell the truth and I can't make you come forward, but know that as long as it takes for you to do so, victimize me. And perhaps maybe if you come forward, if you are the one to come forward, others will come forward too. And they will admit those things. There's a reason that I haven't posted up all of the people. Sorry. No, I haven't posted up all of your reasons all over the. I'm still hoping that you'll come forward. You know, before I posted up everything from Maddie Boa, I gave her a lot of chances to come forward. I begged for her to come forward. And Alicia, please come forward and tell the truth. Please, all of you who I went to try to get help, please at least admit that I was trying to get help. But I got a lot of screenshots still. And although there's probably close to 5 or 6 dozen predators who are going to get away because of the evidence that the police refused to collect, there's still several hundred that the evidence just on my Facebook and my YouTube will put away. Some of them for life. Some of these situations might help to explain it if you went through them in some of the places that I was at. I spoke out about the things that were happening. That child molester in Washington State who stole the computer full of evidence, I can't prove that he did it. He's also dead. He's dead. He was shot, I want to say, well, not very far from my dad's house. The man was shot on D Street, and my dad lives on D Street, East D Street in specific. I found this out from a Facebook group that was showing him and the poster about how they're looking for the people that killed him, and also about how he's a registered child molester. And I also have video footage on this very YouTube channel of me speaking with him about my computer, which had been stolen. He was my prime suspect. And he talks about that. He talks about being accused of molesting his own kids. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he was a registered child molester. And he's dead now. So if he stole my computer, there's no way for me to... Well, his girlfriend. I know what his girlfriend looks like. Do you have any idea what it's like to exploit the FBI and the police? Hey, I'm trying to turn in child molesters and sexual predators and human traffickers, and yes, many of them are police officers. If you type up the word J, J-A-Y, in my channel, there's one feller, he's Leah Plunkett's ex. And it's a pretty long video, but if you listen to it, you'll start to understand. If you listen to Tabby and her stories about Leah Plunkett, you'll start to understand that I've been telling the truth all along. A lot of victims protect their predators, and I know why. In some cases, it's leverage. In some cases, it's fear. In some cases, it's relief because you got away. But the next person won't, because you fight it when it happened to you. I fought it when the actions that Boulder police committed, when they committed those actions against me, I spoke up. They called me mentally ill, and when I tried to turn them in, they gave me the mentally ill treatment to prevent me from turning them in. Repeatedly. Also repeatedly throwing away written documents that I gave them because that's specifically what they asked. Threw it in the garbage right in front of me. Sex trafficking doesn't just include selling of children. It's one of the largest businesses, if not the largest business in the United States, other than war. Trafficking children and trafficking adults in and out of the jails. Nearly all foster children or former foster children. Nearly all of them, including the black ones, including the Hispanic ones, including the ones that are immigrants, including the ones that are white. All of them. Even Christians, even Muslims. I met a lot of Muslims and Christians and atheists, and even Satan worshippers in the system. The military, they don't fuck around. There's more child molesters locked up in military prisoners than, or in military prisons, than there is locked up in military prisons for anything else. They got a high percentage of child molesters in there, and also wife beaters. People who go to military prison do not go for high-tech espionage with the Chinese. But we've got these situations happening. We've got them happening to Native Americans too. We got them happening to black folks too. And people want to get angry at me because I yell and I scream to try to get an honest day in court, to try to show the truth. Kind of brownish green up there right now. And as you get closer to the top of the door frame where the sky comes out of view, it's starting to get a little bit blue. It's a really cool color. And because it's raining, it's not 4,000 degrees in here like it was earlier. I had everything taken away from me being a human rights activist for a lot of years. And because of slander, most people were afraid to help me. And a lot of people made every excuse that they run away. I'm not going to stop speaking out for these children because I was one of them. I'm not going to stop. Natalie Bollinger is just one of many, many people in America who have been molested and raped. And all of these statistics about child molestation and rape, that doesn't even include the ones that happened when they were adults. Being raped as an adult is not even included in that number. Most men that I know are too manly to ever admit that they were ever molested. I'm sorry, I'm tired. Citrus, just the smell of it will help to wake you up, help to open up your eyes. I've been trying to not fall asleep through this video. I was up all night trying to get the police to do something. They never do. They're likely to do so for women. They're more likely to do so, believe it or not, for minorities. And then they make these rules that make it impossible for you to ever save enough or have enough to get unhomeless. You're not allowed to have any more than $2,000 worth of value. $2,000. I've almost reached that between the horse trailer, the John Deere, and the Harley Davidson. I'm pretty close to $2,000. If I go over that much worth, they take all of it away. In most places, on average, it costs pretty close to $3,000 to get into a place just to move in. And a lot of y'all who don't live in areas like that, I'm so glad for you. I really am. But $3,000 is a lot of money. Get your own place. So when they tell you, oh, you own more than $2,000 worth of whatever, so we're going to take away everything from you because you aren't going to have enough money to actually get your own place. A lot of these things to liquidate this. I have to sell my tools, sell the trailer, sell the golf cart. Meanwhile, the golf cart's the only thing that's going to allow me to get groceries at the grocery store in any significant amount so that I can actually stock up and do my own cooking. I got to watch the weight that I carry and how far I carry it. Otherwise, my legs might not be able to move for 2 or 3 days. Sometimes my upper strength is enough for me to scoot around where I need to go, but some days I just sit here in this chair simply because my legs won't work. The assault by Waylon Lolotime made a pre-existing back injury so much worse. He also tried to break my leg, tried to break my arm, tried to break my shoulder and my wrist. They knew exactly what they were doing. Boulder police have rehearsed over and over and over again. Live. It's like a magician wants to be in a big show. So what's he going to do? He's going to go test it out with the street people. I'm going to do some magic tricks out on the streets and see if I am any good and see if my magic tricks work. And then on to the big show. Except they're basically going around practicing on how to victimize people with the homeless while pretending to be the good guys for all the people in houses. Meanwhile, they kind of are, because people in houses hate the homeless. They hate poverty. So they want poverty to go away. They don't care how. They don't. They don't want impoverished people to have a free handout. So they spend 6 times as much in a month to lock them up in jail for being homeless. Most of these people, their only crimes through their life were crimes of desperation or outright lies from, well, police. People will listen to you if you're black, but then again, that makes it a much bigger problem in changing the laws, because now we've got, instead of Breonna's law, which gives us a way to enforce it, now we've got laws that are already in place, and they're just making those laws again. We already had those in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They didn't do any good then. Why? Because we didn't have any way to enforce it. We didn't have body cameras until the late 90s even available in most places. And most places in America, the officers still won't use them. They still turn them off or refuse to. In Torrington, or not Torrington, in Rawlins, Wyoming, yeah, those cops aren't wearing fucking body cameras. Are you kidding me? Small town? They don't give a shit. Just like living here in Chapel, Nebraska, small fucking town. Everybody knows everybody. All the folks at the courthouse friends with one another. Makes it suck for the poor schmuck that got robbed, huh? Meanwhile, we need to do more for these kids, and most parents can't. That's what they tell themselves. I can't. They'll take my kids away. So parents never work together to stop this. Parents are the ones that need to stop this, and they need to fight for their children in doing so. Parents, more so than black people, need to be marching, because there are black parents as well. You have that, and you are parents. Many of the white parents that I know are broke. They're going through the same things that I hear black parents complaining about. They're going through the same thing. Work together with them. Help them out. Please.